Today we are starting an exciting subject, analytical toxicology, science that studies interaction of different chemical compounds, toxic, mildly toxic, with human body and the ways how we can analyze it. As you have seen, we have several. So, what compounds are typically for intoxication? Of course, there are exotic poisons that you can read about in detective stories, but most common sources of intoxication are everyday use compounds, everyday use drugs, and their overdoses. This is an example of statistics of some large European city. 1/3 of intoxication was simply alcohol. 60% was benzodiazepines, very common drugs. Antidepressants like these were taken another large part. Sleeping pills, barbiturates, and even Tylenol was given 1% and salicylates like aspirin 2% of possible intoxication cases. So as you can see, it's very common compounds. Legal, illegal issues we will not touch in this class at all. They do not make sense. They change with time and culture, and all illegal compounds, practically all, has positive effects and has its usage in clinical environment. For example, we cannot live without anesthesia. Opiates, alcohol were used as anesthetics since ancient time. Coca was introduced in South America for that very reason. Society cannot live without psychiatric medication. As example, lithium salts and chlorpromazine are fantastically effective. Compounds that we name drugs of abuse are known for thousands of years. As an example, cult of wine god Dionysus came in Greece around 4000 years ago, but it replaced widespread use of psychedelic mushrooms. So one drug was replacing another. The words assassination, is coming from Arabic hashashin, the group or cult of people who were abusing cannabis and were murdering population of Arabic-speaking countries of Middle East and Iran between years 1000 and 1280. United Kingdom was fighting a war with Imperial China back in 19th century for the right to sell opiates. So British wanted to sell opiates, Chinese prohibited it, and the war was lost by Chinese, so British were able to successfully introduce opiate abuse into China's empire and weaken it to the state of complete disappearance at the beginning of 20th century. It's interesting that legal drugs often considered more dangerous than illegal. So for example, on this chart, it's visible that alcohol is potentially the most dangerous of existing drugs. Heroin and crack cocaine are distant seconds. And then after several next we have legal tobacco and semi-legal cannabis. Benzodiazepines and ketamine are prescriptive drugs. It's, you can see interesting component is simply butane. It's a fuel. You cannot burn fuel. Then very active and aggressive drugs of abuse like ecstasy and LSD are far less harmful. So all the legal issues are very questionable and they all depend on how widespread abuse it is and what happens next. Drugs are widely used in the United States. They are most of the population regularly drinks alcohol. A large part of population is cigarette smoker. Now there are millions of people that are using illegal drugs every year, and these are old numbers. Of course, current numbers are much higher. Drugs make enormous industry. Tobacco industry revenue in the United States is well above $100 billion. Alcohol industry is in vicinity of 200, but their numbers higher, all the way to $400 billion. Marijuana, legal and illegal, makes between 40 and 60 billion dollars per year, of which 15 billion are legal this time. Heroin, all illegal, makes around 50 billions, and cocaine around $90 billion US. Keep in mind that US state budget is around 3,000 billion. So we are talking about amount of in vicinity of 1/5 of US budget. Talking about danger of specific drugs, I often will show the chart from Lancet. I like it. It shows two different lines. First, physical harm of usage, and another, dependence. How much you are getting addicted by this drug. The worst, in any case, is heroin and related opiates. Cocaine is distant second. Close to them are barbiturates and methadone. But tobacco and alcohol are fantastically high with dependence, so people are easily get addicted to tobacco and alcohol. Amphetamines are far less dependent, giving more physical harm. Now, uh, more benign drugs are cannabis, which is very widespread. Solvents and alkyl nitrides, they are completely illegal. And you can see that, for example, ecstasy and LSD are sitting exactly in the same area. So again, there is no border between legal and illegal. It's mainly about human society and human agreement. Talking about dependence, addiction is not only psychological. Addiction is biological event. Despite the importance of numerous psychological factors, drug addiction involves a biological process. The ability of repeated exposure to a drug of abuse to induce changes in vulnerable brain that drive the compulsive seeking and taking of drugs and loss of control of drug use defines state of addiction. So this is biology, this is chemistry, that's not only psychology. You cannot just say stop and everything will change. It's not true.